name is Al Segalla, and welcome to Taxpayer Alert. We have these sessions are designed to provide information to the public about what's happening in the county, and we invite experts to who really know the answer to that question, so that our viewers can be well informed. And this is no exception. Our guest this time is Albert Art. Mr. Alt is our county CAO, and he is responsible for everything. Anything goes wrong in this county, it's his fault. Of course, anything good is his fault too. So, Albert, what you've been CAO for how long now?
A little over a year and a half now.
Okay. What are some of the highlights in the last year and a half that you can look at, or challenges, or?
Well, that's a good question. We've been embroiled in our response to COVID for so long. Sometimes it's hard to remember what our highlights are. It's taken so much of our time and energy. But I've said this every time I've had opportunity to speak with you, and I say it at board meetings as well. Really, one of the highlights has been working with the type of people that we have at the county. I know sometimes it's easy to think that government workers show up and they clock in, they clock out. And we don't always, from a public perspective, understand the effort that goes into serving the public. And one of the things that I've been just constantly amazed by is the quality of people that we have, and the work that everybody at every level does, and how hard they work for the public, and how, really frankly, how resilient our employees have been. That we've gotten a lot of curveballs in disasters, and everything from the Butte fire and winter storms to now COVID, and our employees show up every day. They do great work.
They're good people.
They really are. And I've been amazed, and frankly, that I'm just honored. That's probably the biggest highlight, is the amazing people that I get to go to work with every day.
Well, it looks like the county board is going through some changes. We have one supervisor leaving, another one coming in. So it's not really sure what's going to be happening. Also, the national level, we don't know if we're going to have a new president or not. And if we do, if we have a change of presidents, will a whole new philosophy of government start being employed, which would advance and expand governmental control, or not? Well, in the meantime, you're trying to plan with the Board of Supervisors. You've identified goals, and you're trying to plan what's to come up this next year. And I guess under all that is, well, what's the purpose of government? Some say it's like a social club. Others say, no, it's there to protect individual rights. Oh, okay, if it's supposed to do that, then some things that government's doing may not fit that purpose. But in identifying purpose, we also can build upon that the nature of the activity we want to have, because we do need to have public safety. That fits the purpose of protecting people's rights. And we do need to stay within budget, which means we have to make one. And so, where are we now on this planning process? This planning process is different than land use planning. This is planning what the county is going to be doing.
Well, probably the first place to talk about, and you really introduced it in your talking points, is that there will be obviously a change in the board. Supervisor Mills will be ending his term, and he's done a great job and an asset to the board in the perspective that he brings with his corporate experience and his strategic planning thoughtfulness. And we'll be transitioning into Supervisor Follendorf, who also has a long history of planning with the city and has done great work in strategic planning with the city. So not to editorialize about any supervisor over the other, but the reality of it is that when there's a change on any team, one person change, in this case a one person on a 5-person team, that always changes the team dynamic. And
Right.
so it'll be interesting to see really how the board gels over time and how some of our processes may change just with different lenses from, in this case, 20% of the board changing. And so that, obviously we can rely on the work that Councilwoman or Mayor Follendorf did, and probably be some similarities with our board. But that'll be interesting to see the life that takes on. I'm really looking forward to working with what will be our new board, and with Supervisor Follendorf, and I'm really looking forward to talking strategic planning with her, because I know that she did that work as mayor at the city as well, and it's an important topic for me, as we just talked about in the study session on Tuesday.
What exactly would the planning involve? Would it be who does what, or?
Well, in the first level, really, it's or the first layers of it, and it's really been done at the work's been done at the county. The mission, vision, and values. What is it that we're all about? What is it that? What's our purpose? You talk to that. What is our purpose in Calaveras County going to be? And that work's already been done. We know what governmental work is, but each county focuses on what its character is going to be in and of itself, and that's the board's prerogative to choose that. And they've done that work. And so now, in my view, it's a matter of connecting our annual priorities and the work that we will do annually with making sure that feeds into what the board's already decided is our mission, vision, and values, and our purpose for being here. So that when we do the work we do is, all the work that we do is valuable work, but we have constrained resources and time. So it's really a matter of focusing our resources and time on those things that are the priorities to fit
Right.
the board's prerogative. There's plenty of work to do in every county, and we can work really hard at doing any number of things, but we really want to work hard on doing the right things in the right order to serve the purpose and that's been set by the Board of Supervisors.
What should be the elements in the mission statement?
Well,
It's supposed to be like a slogan that you follow.
yeah.
But, once you said it, it seemed like you forget it.
Well, and that happens in a lot of organizations, and it's not uncommon. Sometimes they get too wordy, but it really should be something that we can all speak to as county employees on. This is why we're here to do the work.
Right.
And supported by what our core values are and what really matters to us on a day-to-day basis. I spoke to that in the strategic planning process, that we're not dissimilar to any other organization, whether it's corporate, county, city. We have a mission statement, but we haven't yet done the work to tie our annual plans of work to what the mission statement is, so that we can ensure to the public that we're fulfilling that mission statement.
Yeah.
So that's really the next piece, is taking our annual goals and the board's priority setting that they typically do in January, and making sure that links with what our values are that the board has already adopted, and that ultimately the work we're doing is supporting what the mission is that the board's voted on.
Okay, so the mission statement is in the process of being defined now, and then there'll be meetings on the third Tuesday to discuss this and then solidify what the mission statement would be.
Well, I'll modify that a little bit. That's mostly correct. What the board has done annually for the past few years is set in January a study session, which is the third Tuesday, to talk about what the board's priorities are.
Okay.
So there's two things really. The board's priorities for us for important projects to get done in the annual plan, and then ultimately the CAO's goals as well. Those are really the function of my performance and performance evaluation is, did I meet the goals that they set for me? And so that helps inform the process of whether I'm doing a good job or not. And so the priorities and goals are a little bit different, but the priority discussion in the third Tuesday meeting in January, then hopefully an outcome from that will be the study sessions that we have every third Tuesday each month throughout the year, so that we're using that third Tuesday meeting to talk about really weighty policy issues and important things that require more discussion than a typical board item that might be 20 to 30 minutes. And you've been to many board meetings, and a lot of decisions are made on a board agenda, sometimes on consent, which, as you know, is one fell swoop. But many items are 15, 20-minute discussions, and
Yeah.
they don't require a 2 or 3 or half-day study session, but some really do. As you recall, our general plan discussions took several of those. The cannabis regulation took many study sessions. So those third Tuesdays are really designed around fleshing out and having thoughtful dialogue around the board's most important policy or operational issues that they want to accomplish in the calendar year.
It seems like a government organization is similar to a business organization in that you have a line of control and responsibility. But it seems like the main difference is a government organization obtains its money by force. They take the money from people against their will. And hopefully there are people that have their money taken from them in the way of taxes are not too mad and they're happy with the way it's being spent. But because it's different type of organization, it does seem to require some more thought, particularly when it comes to the rights of the people. In other words, people look to government, which is an organizational force, to have that force beneficial and helpful, like for public safety and to protect individual rights. So if among the goals are to protect the constitutional rights of the public, then everything else can fall into place with no harm done. If that's not part of the goals, if it's something else, then we could go into dangerous waters. We could actually be telling people to do things that's not our business to tell them. I'm not saying the governor made a mistake, but I should say that because he did when he didn't have constitutional backing to give orders to everybody in the state. No authority from the executive branch, from the legislative branch, and nothing from the Constitution. It's just like, here's the order. It just so happened everybody kind of agreed with it, wear a mask or this or that, and it wasn't much of a problem. Of course, that was true with FDR and the Japanese too, when they put them in concentration camps. Everybody at that time, they go, oh, well, we're saving the country. And even the Japanese thought, well, maybe some of us have allegiance to the homeland. I don't know, but when you have a wide section of people agree to an unconstitutional action of government, it can slip by. But somewhere along the line, there has to be somebody to blow the whistle and actually take them to court. Say, where's your constitutional authority? And that ties into the COVID, because we're right in the middle of that now. We don't know whether exactly what to do. We do know that paying attention to people most susceptible is not the most prominent thing going on. It seems to be making the law to make everybody behave in a certain way. But if we were to protect the people that are most susceptible, we want to make sure that their immune system is up to, is hardened. In other words, they're not deficient in like vitamin D, which has been, studies have found that there's a tremendous increase, danger for COVID if people are deficient in vitamin D. That's the sunshine vitamin. And there's some other ones too. So it seemed like that, and also masks, the masks that we're wearing and we're commanded to wear are not the type generally that are antibacterial. They don't kill the virus. They let the virus go through. And a large percentage of people that wear a mask also catch the virus. And so it seemed like if we were going to get serious about ending the pandemic, we would seek to protect the most vulnerable. And along with that, the people that are in the first liners, the nurses and doctors and policemen.
Yeah, it's a complicated issue, and I don't intend to speak for the Board of Supervisors, but obviously we've been walking around in these COVID shoes for 9 months now, well, 10 months.
Yeah.
And I've observed it's really been a delicate balance. Our supervisors have been really thoughtful about how they approach the divide it's created in our communities. Unfortunately for them, there's, in this particular instance, there's really no middle ground. I've observed not only in this county, but at the statewide interactions and nationally, that this seems to be an issue where each side is polar opposite. Our county has a significant population of people that feel strongly about freedoms, and they deserve to. And then we have a significant population of people who feel strongly about their personal health and their own individual and in some cases public safety. And there's no perfect recipe for both perspectives right now, and that's probably been the strongest political issue around the pandemic.
Well, the shutdown now has been used, and the World Health Organization, which is not exactly anti-Marxist, has come out and said that the shutdown produces more bad results than good results. So, of course, if we only pay attention to what the World Health Organization says that we agree with, we we may not have the best advice, I suppose. But in any case, it looks like the closer to the people the government action is, the better chance of it working and being fair. The further away the mandate is, if it's going to be a mandate, the better chance of making mistakes and putting a round peg in a square hole. It's just an observation. Of course, you're right in the middle of it, and you are responsible for what happens in government, but you're not responsible for setting policy. The Board of Supervisors is. And so you kind of like a coach for the Board of Supervisors to make suggestions on policy maybe. And so we're going in interesting times. And I guess the next 3-4 months, maybe a little bit longer, we're going to have a lot of question marks.
Yeah, we really rely on public health to guide the board and what the data is telling us. And if we all know that the data's been evolving from that's the whole idea behind a new strain.
Right.
And we all know that this is a new strain, and we're learning as we go. I can't speak for public health professionals, but the data is getting clearer and clearer that the risk is prolonged exposure in an indoor environment, particularly where there's elevated voice levels, because the projection of molecules frankly go a lot farther indoors. So, and what we've tried to do, and I don't want to speak for Director Stranger, our public health officer, but we have regular weekly calls on this. We have a team of people that brief on this all the time, so that we're all on the same page with what the data is and trying to be ahead of the curve. There is really no ahead of the curve on this, because we don't know necessarily some of the things we learned early on, or we thought we knew about COVID, haven't tended to be entirely true. And it wasn't that the medical experts weren't correct. It's at the time the data suggests, for example, that if you were asymptomatic, you couldn't transmit the disease. Now we know that's not true. At the time, we thought it was very heavily transmitted from like doorknob contact and things like that. And now the data suggests otherwise, that it's more closely between interactions like this in indoor areas with prolonged contact. So the data continues to evolve, and I think really my observation from of watching how the Board of Supervisors has operated is to be really careful not to overreact or underreact, and it's a delicate needle for them to thread to try and navigate these waters, particularly in our county, where there is such a difference in the perspective on what the disease brings. So kudos to them for having been thoughtful about it. Sometimes it's been frustrating for staff to try and figure out how to do the right thing, and I've seen sometimes the frustration on the supervisors to not be able to come with a solution that's going to fix this. Our supervisors, they're good supervisors, they're well read, they put a lot of effort into the work that they do, That's not the case in every county. Ours show up ready, they know the agenda material, they're studied, so they're practiced problem solvers.
Right.
And now we're faced with a problem where we don't know what the template is to fix it. And I can see not only does it cause them frustration, it does us as administration as well. We don't like to deal with recessions, but we know how.
Yeah.
We don't like to deal with some of the more difficult challenges that we're faced in being a regulatory type of agency, but we know how to do the work because there's a history. There's a body of knowledge about it, and this is something that we don't have a body of knowledge for, and that's particularly difficult for people who are problem solvers to try and get their hands around.
Yeah, I guess it's a question of not just knowing what to do, is to ask, the question is, what is my responsibility, and what is the responsibility of the people themselves? If we were to look to the county for every problem we have to try to find a solution, oh my God, we have a heck of a problem. So we need to preserve the freedom of the people and allow them to choose. Make sure get information out. Allow them to choose what they think is important to them. Sometimes people will risk a certain exposure to COVID in order to have a really good dinner out, you know. That's their value system.
Yeah, and I think the best way to describe our fallback on the decision making, at least internally in the way we work through things, is we've had a lot of discussions about, our employees have the right to have their own personal beliefs and choose which side of the politics they're going to be on and decide what's right for them and their own families. We certainly are not going to preach to our employees, but at least internally we've taken the approach that we've got guidelines. We're an employer, and I need to look at it from an organizational perspective. Whether I agree with the theory of a face covering or not, the state has said that we're responsible as an employer to have certain regulations. So I think what our organization has done a good job of doing I don't like to say top to bottom. I don't look at our organization as being top to bottom. I look at it as, a group of colleagues that come together to do work. So our group of colleagues, I think, internally have done a really nice job of setting aside all of the politics and individual perspectives to say, okay, we've got to follow certain rules organizationally. And so in some ways, they may be thinking much like you've explained in your perspective, is that, boy, our CAO or our admin is being quite dictatorial, but I'm willing, at least from that perspective, to err on the side of, my job is to keep people safe, and we put them in an environment where they could be at risk, so we're going to take all the precautions that we can. Our responses when we've had cases internally have been well above and beyond what Cal OSHA standards require. But I explain that not so much to talk about what we've done internally, but to highlight or at least illustrate the tough decision making. I may not agree with all the policies that I am expected to implement, but we're a governmental entity, and we really have to do what's right for the broadest amount of employees that we have. And so I can see the real dilemma that the supervisors are in making decisions for roughly 48,000 citizens when I really lose sleep over what we're going to do for 600 employees, and it gets difficult.
Yeah, I've been wearing a mask for I guess almost 2 months now. That's medicated. It kills the virus. Out of 1,000 people wearing masks in this county, how many are wearing medicated masks, do you think?
Well, I would submit that the number's pretty low.
Maybe 3.
What we do have is, I know, and I learned this from Director Stranger, is that, we commonly refer to these as masks, but masks are like the N95 masks that,
They're a
are
little
for
better.
medical purposes and whatnot, where, the mandate is really around a face covering,
Right.
And not necessarily a treated or medical grade mask. And so, we do hear from a lot of our citizens, you were illustrative of the point earlier, that what's the purpose if it doesn't really stop the the virus from being spread. And so I won't editorialize on what I think about it. What the data suggests is at least it minimizes the travel of the molecules through the air, and so at least
it's better than
reduces
nothing.
Right. And so we've implemented the practice. All of our employees in public spaces wear them. We don't require them organizationally to be treated in, and certainly from the statewide level, even though we all refer to it as a mask mandate, it's really a face covering. As you know, when you go around the county, we see everything from the neck gaiters to bandanas to anything else that are certainly not medical grade approved.
We in a previous session we had the sheriff, and we had some good news on the pandemic. Our crime rate has dropped significantly, and the reason for it is that more people are home. You don't have the burglar. A burglar's got a real problem now because there's probably somebody at home.
Well, I'm surprised that Sheriff Rick didn't take the opportunity to just say it was the great work of the sheriff's department, because they do that. We have a great sheriff, and he's a fantastic colleague, and we have an excellent department as well. So I would submit that their hard work is the one doing the job. But
they have almost 30 volunteers.
They do. They have quite, and I don't know if he described some of them, but the type and quality of volunteers that he have are very high level. It's pretty amazing the subject matter expertise, everything from doctors to lawyers, and they've got quite a crew up there.
Yeah, I'm really proud of him, and also proud of you too, because you've done a good job.
Well, we show up every day. I will say Rick's done a good job. I appreciate what you're saying. I will tell you that the first year and a half it's been a lot of learning. I don't feel like I've settled into the position yet, and am yet doing a good job. If I were to grade myself, I wouldn't say that. But what I am proud of is that we show up every day. We're thoughtful about where we want the county to be, 5, 10, 15 years from now. We want to set a strong footprint so that our public's going to be well served off into the future, and be stable in our government and our leadership. And so that, I think those are honorable goals. We're not there yet, but as long as I keep those in front of us, I would submit that at some point I hopefully will be able to do a good job in the work we do.
Well, I think you do, and I'm so glad you're a guest this time, and thank you for coming, and thank you for watching Taxpayer Alert. See you next time.